Good morning, Peterborough. My name is Jim Tubb, and it is time for your Sports Break broadcasted through the facilities of Trent Radio on 92.7 C Triple FM here in Peterborough, Canada. This show, of course, can be streamed online at trentradio.ca, or you can follow what we're talking about on Twitter at SportsBreakTR. The weather outside today is, well, I'm going to pull it up here real quick. Always got to be prepared here on radio, you know. The weather outside today here in Peterborough is... Oh, it's not giving me weather. We don't have weather, actually, anymore here in Peterborough. It's just what it is. It's a little chilly. Nothing crazy. A little... I don't want to say overcast because there's sun, but it's still a little overcast. I'm just going to fix my mic quick. Like I said, always prepared here at Sports Break. No matter what the weather it is, it's a beautiful day to talk about sports, ladies and gentlemen. What day isn't, though? What day isn't perfect to just talk about sports, be surrounded by sports, skip school and do sports? And yesterday, I'll be honest, is the prime example of skipping school and just surrounding yourself in sports for the whole day. Now, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, come on. But like yesterday was the NHL Trade Deadline day. So in the NHL, this is, I would say, the biggest day of the year, except for the Stanley Cup Finals, which of course are is the finals. So it's the biggest. That just makes sense, right? Yeah. Huge day, and it was a great day. Of course, trade deadline in the past. Usually TSN or Sportsnet sets up a whole day and they talk about all the trades that are going to happen that day or all the trades that have already happened. And it's just an 8-hour broadcast. I don't want to say of nothing, but it's pretty close, I'll be honest. In past years, it's been pretty close. Of just these are the trades that happened. We'll talk about them. And yeah. And it's just a really boring day. Even the people on TSN say this is a really boring day. And I don't know how people tune in and enjoy it, but they do. Now, I'm just looking... Sorry. It really doesn't... Sorry, this year was amazing, though. I found this year was pretty great for just, all-in-all trades. Because usually a lot of the NHL GMs like to get the trades done before the deadline. And that way, the players on the team... look at the Leafs. The Leafs traded for Jake Muzzin in January. Month before the deadline, he's on the team. He can work out with the team, get used to the team, come playoff time. Now, if he gets traded here in February, he has about a month and a half to get ready for the playoffs and get used to the team. And it just doesn't work as well, I'll be honest. Whereas right now, Jake Buzzin's with the Leafs and he's part of the team. But still, a lot of trades. Big names. That's the thing, too, is it's usually not big names. It's Thomas Vanek usually gets traded. He didn't get traded this year. It would have been the third year in a row he got traded. Just utility guys and, not lesser players. That sounds terrible. They're all NHL players. But players that aren't the same caliber as guys like Matt Duchene, Wayne Simmonds, Mark Stone, all these guys that were traded yesterday. And we're going to we're going to break down and analyze every trade here as quick as we can here on Sports Break. There's a lot of trades. A lot. And we're going to talk about what that means for the NHL, who won the day, and who lost, and where do we go from here, whether it's the Leafs or anybody. But to start it all off, last night, Eric Staal, who was also rumored to be traded from the Minnesota Wild, agreed to a 2-year extension of $3.25 million. Of course, he would have been a UFA on July 1st. Big deal for the Wild, kind of getting a scoring centerman back. He does play deeper in the lineup. He's not Eric Staal of the past, where he would run your team. Still a good pickup for the Wild, who sold at the deadline, trading away Granlund and Victor Rask. I don't remember that trade. I should know. If we're going to talk about trades, I should know all the trade. But they did start the week off. I would say they started all the trades off with Charlie Coyle to the Boston Bruins. And that was last week. That would have been last Wednesday was the trade of Charlie Coyle to the Bruins for forward Ryan Donato and a conditional 5th-round pick. Kind of just ooh, little tease into the deadline. Ooh, I like the sound of that. There's a lot of deals last week. It kind of scared... like I said, we're talking about everything. There was a lot of deals last week that kind of scared me to think, like, the trade deadline day isn't going to be that good because everyone's getting traded now. Of course, Coyle had 28 points through 60 games this season, averaging 17 minutes per game. Great centerman. He's going to sit in that third spot in their roster behind Patrice Bergeron, of course, and David Krejci, and just gives them some offensive depth. Charlie Coyle's from Boston. Don't know if you know by his name, Charlie Coyle. Bruins fans love him just because they can say his name properly, and he's going to be a great fit there. He already is kind of a great fit. It's just good move by the Bruins to start off the trade deadline week. Sorry, I'm just playing with the mic. We have just making sure everything works. It's working perfect, just like the deadline. But in all seriousness, great pickup for Boston. I don't know how you could argue it. Should be a great pickup for the Leafs too. They were in on Charlie Coyle. That's what happens when you have a good player. It's a good pickup for everyone. Real good player. The Ducks, instead of making a trade, they re-signed their forward. I gotta find his first. Yeah, I thought it was Jakob Silfverberg. I almost called him the wrong name. To a 5-year extension with an AAV over $5 million. Of course, he was kind of talking about leaving because they don't have a lot of cap space. The team hasn't been good in the past 2 years. This year, they've been terrible. The Ducks, they've been terrible and then really good and then terrible and just not great. And they're a team that they expect to make the playoffs every year. And hopefully Silfverberg signing there helps make it better, or he doesn't hate his life for re-signing back. Now, one team, again, this is all before the deadline. I'll let you know when we hit the deadline. The Capitals acquired Carl Hagelin from the LA Kings for a third-round pick in 2019 and a conditional sixth round in 2020. The Los Angeles will receive the conditional sixth pick if Washington wins 2 playoff series and Hagelin plays at least 50% of any 2 rounds combined. Of course, the Kings retain 50% of the cap hit. Now, if you remember, Hagelin was traded to LA from Pittsburgh earlier this year for Tanner Pearson, and it was rumored that Pittsburgh was trying to reacquire Hagelin at the deadline. But because they've already retained part of his contract this calendar year, this season, you can't reacquire him because you already retained. It's very interesting. I just learned about it through this deal. That's a rule. Kind of crazy how that's a thing. How you can't reacquire a player you've already, I guess so. It's not like you saving cap space this season. You can't do that. You can't recycle cap space, essentially. I don't know. It's an NHL rule. Who knows what it means? The Capitals also picked up defenseman Nick Jensen and a 5th-round pick in exchange for defenseman Madison Bowie and a 2020 second-round pick. Good pick. Again, good pickup for the Capitals. And then they signed Jensen to an extension immediately afterwards. You could tell they kind of wanted him. He secured a 4-year extension with the Capitals. Great pickup. The Capitals getting ready for the deadline, getting ready for the playoffs, of course, trying to defend the Stanley Cup championship that they have. And then that was all Thursday. Sorry, I should clarify. I think 4 days ago would have been Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No, that would have been Friday. Around Friday or Saturday. We'll go with that. And then the big fish fell. Matt Duchene from the Ottawa Senators was traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets for a first-round pick and a pair of prospects. Columbus also received Julius Bergman from the Ottawa Senators. And the prospects they received are The prospects they received are Vitaly Abramov, who was selected in the 3rd round in 2016, and right winger Jonathan Davidson in 2017's 6th-round pick. And it's kind of funny how both times Duchene was traded, he's played against the team he was traded from to, if that makes sense. So his first trade, he was traded from Columbus to Ottawa. When he got to Ottawa, they played against Colorado. He was traded from Colorado to Ottawa. They went to Sweden, and they played one another. And then when he was traded from Ottawa to Columbus, Columbus was in Ottawa, and they played against each other. So he always plays against the team he was traded for. And Duchene's he's had a better season this year. I don't know if he knows it's his contract year or not. He's had 58 points through 50 games. He's just been a really good player, I'll be honest, for the Senators this year. Of course, everyone remembers the Uber video that came up this season. Kind of didn't look good, didn't shine bright on Matt Duchene and what went on there. But then, so that we're going with that was Saturday. No, that was Friday. This is terrible radio. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. That was Friday. So Saturday, the Sens also traded Ryan Dzingel to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Dun dun. Huge trade. Really cleaning house in Ottawa. They got Ryan Dzingel and a 7th round pick. Make sure you track that 7th round pick. Never know what's going to come out of that. Could get a guy like Ilya Kovalchuk went first overall. Pavel Datsyuk's the name. Henrik Lundqvist, all these guys that went late. Never know. But no, it's just a 7th round pick, just thrown in there. Ottawa got back Anthony Duclair, if you remember him from the World Juniors. I believe it was in 2014. Played with Max Domi. Was amazing in the World Juniors. Was originally, this is how long ago this was. Was originally part of the New York Rangers. Didn't perform well at all. Was traded to the Phoenix, then Phoenix, Arizona. Then Phoenix Coyotes, now Arizona Coyotes. Didn't perform there. Ended up in Chicago. I'm forgetting now. Got hurt, and then ended up in Columbus. And now he's in Ottawa. So hopefully he sticks, and hopefully he performs. Yeah, he was amazing in the World Juniors. And they also got 2 second-rounders for Ryan Dzingel. But just not a great trade. Not a great career for... I don't know why I'm getting my emotions mixed up here. Too bad for Anthony Duclair that has come to this, that he's been traded. He's on his now 4th different team in a short career. For the Senators, good trade. Your Ryan Dzingel wasn't going to get you a lot. He's not Matt Duchene. He's not Mark Stone. You're just not going to get a lot. But it's draft picks, which they need, especially not having their 1st round pick this year. That's more likely than not going to be the 1st overall pick, which is why you don't trade picks like that. And I should have clarified this on the Stone deal with Columbus. This is amazing. The Columbus GM put in a condition that if the 1st round pick this year is a top 3 pick, I think it was for the 2019, or it was either for the 2019 or 2020 draft. If it's a first top 3 pick, it's lottery protected. Kind of just like calling back to when Eugene Melnyk traded away his 1st round pick to Colorado and didn't lottery protect it, or did lottery protect it, but only for the 1 year, and it's costing him now. He's going to lose out on either Jack Hughes or Capo Caco. Great name. Can't wait for him to make the NHL, Capo Caco. Another big trade that happened on Saturday was Matt Zuccarello was traded from the New York Rangers. The Rangers finally settling down to we're tanking. Trading him to the Dallas Stars for a conditional 2nd round pick in 2019 and a conditional 3rd round in 2020, which is like a steal for Matt Zuccarello, who's a pretty good goal scorer, pretty great in the shootout, but a really good goal scorer. And there's not that really conditions, and it's a 2nd round and a 3rd round pick. It's not huge. And he ended up playing for them that night. Zuccarello played good. Played so good, actually. He was blocking shots. Real team player. He blocked a shot with his arm and is out 4 weeks with a broken arm. Which in the last couple minutes of the 2nd period, he'd picked up a goal and an assist already. In Sunday's game. And just like, hate to see it. He's out 4 weeks. Kind of nice. It's a tough little deadline pickup when the guy you pick up is out 4 weeks. Now, if you know the Rangers, you know there's a couple guys that have been around there for a while. Matt Zuccarello, Henrik Lundqvist, Kevin Hayes has been there his whole career. Was there for most of his career, I should say. I'll get to his trade in a bit. But these guys that have been Rangers for a very long time. And Henrik Lundqvist, of course, is like the Ranger when you think of New York Rangers. Now, of course, Mark Messier, Phil Esposito, all those guys. But still, like, you think of Henrik Lundqvist, and they haven't been a great team for the past 2 seasons. And it's starting to wear on the team. It's starting to wear on Henrik Lundqvist, who says, I don't want to play anywhere else, but I want to win a Stanley Cup. And they're a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, 4 years, maybe 5. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving them justice for saying 2 to 3, but they're a bit away from winning a Stanley Cup. And it's kind of to wear on Henrik Lundqvist, and he quickly realized that he's the old guy in the room, and that it's just him, essentially. There's a quick interview here with the media about the Matt Zuccarello trade. I'm just going to play quick.
Henrik, we saw your tweet, your Instagram about Matt after spending nearly a decade with him. Now that he is officially on Dallas, just a word on what he's meant to you on and off the ice and what he's meant to this team.
It's tough. A good friend. Sorry. I can't do it.
Thanks, guys.
Henrik Lundqvist, of course, is a very emotional player. We know that from like his not temper tantrums, but like throwing stuff on the ice, freaking out on the ice and stuff like that. We know that he gets mad sometimes. I can honestly say I've never seen Henrik Lundqvist get that sad and that emotional. Really shows what Matt Zuccarello meant to the New York Rangers and to Henrik Lundqvist himself. And it just kind of shows, this was a message I was going to get to at the end, after we had talked about all the trades. But it's perfect here. Like the players traded at the deadline, we talk about like they're just names to a lot of fans. Their points, their numbers, their cap hits, this. It's just all numbers. To fans, at least. To a lot of fans. And you just bring it up like nothing. Like, oh, that guy's got 60 points. His cap hit's 6.5. They could trade him for this guy who's got 55 points and his cap hit's 3.5 and a first-round pick. Sounds great. But there's families behind that. There's names behind that. There's houses, like kids, dogs, just families. And behind every name, like you could trade a guy like Matt Zuccarello, Kevin Hayes, Keith Kincaid, Adam McQuaid, all these guys. They're just names. Right-hand defenseman, Adam McQuaid. But right-hand defenseman, Adam McQuaid has a wife, has kids, has a family. And it's quickly forgotten in pro sports, and especially around trade deadlines like this, where everyone's just like, oh, trade. How good does my team look? And you forget that, like, this player who just got traded from Ottawa to Columbus now has to get to Columbus. Now, of course, he played in Ottawa that night. But Ryan Dzingel, the next day, was traded from Ottawa to Columbus, and they weren't there. He had to get to Columbus. Of course, cool story. Matt Duchene plays in Ottawa against Columbus, goes to Columbus, comes back on his own private plane. Not his own. He rented a private plane. Picked up his wife, his kids, his luggage, all this. Picked up Ryan Dzingel because he had just got traded and brought them to Columbus. Great story. But that's just one story. The rest is usually one guy gets traded and leaves his family. And usually his family stays behind where they are because they've lived there for 6 years maybe. Or they've lived there for a long time. Their kids are in school there. To uproot kids out of school when there's only a couple months left of the school year is kind of tough. So you break up a family like that. And it's a lot of people forget very quickly. And I know I do too. Forget very quickly that these people have families. And to just trade them like that and get rid of them. As fans, we do it all the time. People play video games that do it all the time. You just trade. Make your team better. But we forget there's a human aspect behind it where people sometimes don't know they're traded until they see it on TV or they get a call and they're like, oh, maybe it's my agent telling me I'm traded. And it's like TSN saying, hey, you've been traded to so-and-so. What's your thoughts on that? And you're like, wow, I've been traded? Cool. Would like to know. Which happened a lot yesterday with the TSN, who's on top of it with Bob McKenzie, Pierre LeBrun, guys like that. But it's just something you got to think about where these guys play for our entertainment and they play for the Stanley Cup. But they're also like, there's people, like there's stuff behind the jersey. And these are people, they're not just entertainers. And entertainers are people too. I said that wrong. They're people, they're not just robots that play a game. If we wanted robots to just play a game, we would. But it's the human aspect that kind of makes it better. The intangibles. But you just got to remember that. These are humans and these are lives that change forever because of this. And Mark Stone's a perfect example. I tried to find a clip. I couldn't. He just got traded to Vegas. Just signed an extension for, I should have talked about that, yeah. 8-year, $9.5 million extension with the Vegas Golden Knights. I guess I haven't talked about the trade yet. Oh, man. getting ahead of myself here, but you just got to remember that this is more than just an NHL game. These are huge trades, and these are players' lives that change. Your team changes, the lineup changes, the cap hit changes, that's fine. Lives change as well on this day. And to talk and to want people traded, cool, do that. But don't take it for granted. I don't know what I'm trying to get here at. Just remember that these are humans playing a game. And that it's the same as if they don't perform well. Don't lose it on them. They're just humans playing a game. You get traded and they don't perform, don't lose it on them. They did their best. And if they didn't do their best, then you can. If a player dogs it out there, now we're getting into a completely different conversation. We're just going to skip. I'm going to wrap it up here. Just remember this. There's a human element behind that we don't get to see, that we don't see, that's forgotten. And I don't think it should. It should be remembered that these guys play a game and they deserve the chance to... I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore. Just remember, these are humans. That's it. That's all. That's a lot of rambling. I'm really sorry. Terrible radio. Could you tell we just came off radio week? I had a week off. Lost all. I haven't spoken a week at all, actually. I haven't said a word to anyone at all. Crazy. The Detroit Red Wings yesterday. Now we're at the deadline. It's killing me. I'm really sorry, guys. Forward Gustav Nyquist was traded to the San Jose Sharks for a second-round pick in 2019 and a conditional third in 2020. If the Sharks advance to the Cup final this year, or Nyquist resigns in San Jose, the conditional third round in 2020 becomes a second-round pick in the same draft. Gustav Nyquist was a huge name, I remember, 3 years ago. Amazing, this young talent that Detroit had in Nyquist, Thomas. Watch the Montreal clip of that, it's amazing. Just amazing young talent. But they kind of dropped off. This year he's had 16 goals and 49 points in 62 games. It'll be good for San Jose. He waived a no-trade clause to join the Sharks, which, why wouldn't you? It's huge. One thing I always remember Gustav Nyquist for, I don't know if anyone else, I think it was, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to look it up. But, I believe it was him. It was either, it was Thomas Tatar. Crap, I'll tell the story anyways. His father passed away, and his father was really close. He was really close with his father, and his father trained him, made him who he is in the NHL and in life. Good father. And he passed away. And of course, being the NHLer, he had to play a game the next day, the day after he passed away. He played the game. He scored, took his glove off, kissed it, pointed to this sky. I don't think it was a game winner, but it was a big goal for the game. And I just remember it stuck out in hockey fans and in the hockey world. Yeah, and it was Thomas Tatar. Whoops. Thomas Tatar, of course, with the Montreal Canadiens. Anyways, the Devils also made a big trade, trading away their goaltender Keith Kincaid to the Blue Jackets for a 5th-round pick. That's it. Just for a 5th-round pick. Of course, Kincaid, has gone 15, 18, and 6 with an 8.91 save percentage in 41 games this season. He is an unrestricted free agent, only 29. And for the Blue Jackets, who have Bobrovsky and Jonas Korpisalo in the fold, they got goaltender depth now, especially with Bobrovsky more than likely leaving in the offseason. They could maybe roll out Korpisalo. The Blue Jackets could roll out Korpisalo and Kincaid next year. Nice little goaltender tandem there. The Jets landed a big fish in Kevin Hayes yesterday from the New York Rangers. The Rangers received a 1st-round pick in the 2019 draft. Forward Brendan Lemieux, really good player. And a conditional 4th-round selection in 2020. Of course, it kind of goes with the name, Brendan Lemieux. He looks to be really good. Great pickup for the Rangers, trying to rebuild. And they're doing what they said they would a long time last season, when they sent out the letter to their fans saying, hey, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to rebuild, and we're going to make things better. This is the first step for the Jets. They get a good centerman in Kevin Hayes, great scorer. Of course, an upcoming UFA. Bit of a steep price to pay for a rental, I'll be honest, but you got what you wanted. And for a team last year, they acquired Paul Stastny at the deadline. Hayes gives them a bit more scoring. Winnipeg hasn't been as dominant as they were last year. Not as great defense. Goaltending hasn't been where it was. But if Connor Hellebuck can step up, the Winnipeg defense can step up, this just makes the team amazing. And they're kind of fighting there with the Nashville Predators, who also, I didn't even. All right, we're gonna break the fourth wall here at Sports Break. I make like a thing of what I'm gonna talk about on air. I wrote down all the trades here. Didn't write down probably one of the biggest trades of the day yesterday. We're gonna pull it up here, and it's kind of the response. You can say Winnipeg responded to Nashville, Nashville responded to Winnipeg. Either way, both made huge trades. Winnipeg, the Nashville Predators, acquired Wayne Simmonds from the Philadelphia Flyers. Of course, everyone knows Wayne Simmonds, rumored to Toronto, rumored to Boston. And all they gave up was Ryan Hartman, who had 19 goals a year ago, has 10 this year, I believe, and a conditional fourth-round pick in 2020. That's it. For a lot of Leafs fans, you're asking, could Connor Brown and a third or a fourth have got it done? Like, who says no to that? That'd be a great trade for the Leafs. I mean, you lose Connor Brown for the future, but you save that cap space. But a great pickup for the Predators, who get more forward depth, the Predators have always been defense heavy. That's why they were able to trade away Seth Jones and Shea Weber. Now they get their forward depth. Now they get some forward depth, and they get a gritty forward in Wayne Simmonds. And they made another trade. They acquired Michael Granlund from the Minnesota Wild for forward Kevin Fiala, who doesn't make a lot of sense. Michael Granlund's being paid 5.7. Kevin Fiala's making 1.3. Bit of a cap difference there, but Granlund's a better player. Either way, great deadline for Nashville. We're going to talk about all the teams that traded and their grades, but great for Nashville. Columbus, more bolstering. They pick up defenseman Adam McQuaid from the Rangers, who are again selling for a 4th-round pick and a 7th-round pick to the Rangers. As well as blue liner Julius Bergman. So I don't want to say an overpay, but like McQuaid's not that good. Not as good as Michael Del Zotto, who was traded from Anaheim to the Blues for a 6th-round pick. That's it. Of course, Del Zotto's a pending UFA. He has only played 12 games for the Ducks. He's kind of been injured the rest of the season. Del Zotto, he came from the Rangers in 2008. A name that's kind of fading now, a little older. The Jets also made a deal. This was after the Wayne Simmonds deal, and I wonder if it's in response to it. My roommate and I talked about this. We think it is. The Jets reacquired forward Matt Hendricks from the Minnesota Wild for a 7th-round pick. He's kind of a fighter. Essentially, he's a grinder. I don't know if that's like they're trying to get tougher, because they're going to play the Jets and the Preds are going to play in the playoffs, and it's going to be a good series. And I don't know if this is their way of saying we're ready. Like, let's Tilly. I don't know. We'll see. The Sabres traded defenseman Nathan Beaulieu to the Winnipeg Jets for a 6th-round pick. Jets getting that defensive depth that they need. And they made a lot of deals. The Jets made 6 deals yesterday, actually, and the final one included the Toronto Maple Leafs. And they acquired Par Lindholm. The Jets acquired Par Lindholm from the Leafs for forward Nick Batan. Of course, Lindholm played on the 4th line for the Leafs. Collected 12 points in 61 games. This is his first NHL season. UFA. Great deal for either side, I'll be honest. Patan, 23 in his 4th season with the Jets. He's a pending RFA. So far as a cap set of 874. I don't know if he didn't crack the roster last night. I don't know if he's going to crack the roster this season. Kyle Dubas was on an interview with TSN and said, yeah, he'll play this season for us. I don't know. I don't know if Dubas will want that. They also have Trevor Moore, who they called up. Tyler Ennis just came off injury. They got a lot of good players that why not play them over a guy that's going to play on the 4th line. But we'll see. They got a lot of options, essentially, is what I'm saying. But there's another trade I missed here. So many trades yesterday that I missed some, I guess. Sorry, not great radio right now. Just a couple trades here that I missed. Or 3. The Bruins got better yesterday, that's for sure. The Leafs did make that one trade with Winnipeg. They got a bit better. They definitely got a bit better by getting rid of Lindholm. And I'm not saying Lindholm was a bad player. He just wasn't a great goal scorer. And Freddie the Goat's playing good. Freddie Gauthier is playing better. Tyler Ennis has always played good. Janssen's there. The fourth line's really good right now. And without Lindholm, I think they're even better. But the Bruins have they got Charlie Coyle. And then they got Marcus Johansson, from the New Jersey Devils for a second round pick and a fourth rounder, which is huge. It's just a really good pickup for the Bruins, who are getting deeper up front, who were in on Wayne Simmonds, didn't get Wayne Simmonds, instead got Johansson, and didn't pay a lot. They paid a second and a fourth rounder. You almost wonder, I don't know, I always think about this, like, the team, whatever team you follow, we're going to go with the Leafs here, of course. Did they not know about that? Like, the Leafs couldn't give up a second round pick and a fourth round? I mean, they wouldn't have a pick this year to the third round, but still, pretty good team. Pretty good player. He has had injuries this season, Marcus Johansson. He's got 12 goals and 15 assists in 48 games, but you got to take a run at that. The Avalanche traded for Derek Brassard from the Panthers for a 2020 third rounder. Of course, Brassard was traded to Florida earlier this season from Pittsburgh. That was on February 1st. He only played 10 games. The Penguins also acquired Eric Gudbranson from Vancouver in exchange for forward Tanner Pearson. And the funniest part and the best part about that trade to me was that Gudbranson couldn't play for the team for a couple games because he has to deal with immigration. And I never think about that. Like, oh yeah, if you play for a Canadian team and go play for an American, you have to apply to live there and play there, get a work visa, all this stuff that you don't really think about. Like Mark Stone, who's gonna have to get a work visa in Vancouver, or not Vancouver, I'm an idiot, in Vegas, because that was the big fish that was traded yesterday. Mark Stone went from the Ottawa Senators to the Vegas Golden Knights, and in return, the Senators probably got their best trade. I'll be honest. Best return for a trade. They got defensive prospect Aaron Brannstrom, forward Oscar Lindbergh, and a second-round pick in 2020. Brannstrom looks to be really good. He was the 15th overall pick by Vegas last year, and he's one of the top defensive prospects in hockey. He captained Sweden at the World Juniors this year, and he has racked up 28 points in 41 AHL games this year. Huge pickup for the Senators. And for Vegas last year, who missed out from Erik Karlsson at the deadline, this is just a huge deal. They get the guy that they wanted. They get scoring. Max Pacioretty hasn't been what they thought he would be. He's still good, but they need that goal scorer, and they got him for this season. But wait, there's more. Immediately after he was traded, he personally confirmed to TSN that he had agreed to an extension to the Knights. Of course, he can't officially sign it till March 1st. That's when you can start agreeing to that, so in a couple days. But it's reportedly an 8-year deal with an average annual value of $9.5 million. That's of Bob McKenzie. I'm going to trust that. So in a couple of days, he'll sign it. But a huge pickup for the Vegas Golden Knights. Really make some players this year. They already kind of were. But all in all, just a great... I don't know how they don't... they're a really good team. And they got better. That's for sure. And a lot of teams got better. Of course, the Jets made 6 trades and got really better. The Nashville Predators got better. Boston. I said Boston in there, but the West, I'm going to say, got really better. We'll start Vegas. Missed out on Erik Karlsson. They got Stone. Of course, they did lose a blue chip prospect in Brannstrom. But even if he went on to win the Norris, how much does that really help the team for having Eric Stone in the top 6 forever? They got the sure thing, essentially, in Mark Stone. Columbus finally became a team, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. They've added 49 goals to their roster with Matt Duchene and Ryan Dzingel. They kept Artemi Panarin, although they talked about trading him. They kept Sergei Bobrovsky. They've got a lot of young guys to keep. But those are all UFA, those 4 names. Duchene, Dzingel, Panarin, and Bobrovsky. Say that 4 times fast. They're all young. Not young, sorry. They're all UFA, so they're going to leave probably at the end of the season. I could see it. Maybe a guy like Matt Duchene re-signs, or Matt Dzingel. I don't know. I don't know why they would, I'll be honest. And maybe they win the Stanley Cup. But still, the idea is that they're young. These guys are on expiring contracts, and if they leave... the Columbus then has a lot of cap space to build around Pierre-Luc Dubois, Seth Jones, and Zach Werenski. That's kind of a crappy thing to think about, is that these guys are leaving. Right now they're going to focus on the playoffs. They could easily win a round or two. Really good team. If all these guys perform this season, of course, the Predators, now we're jumping back to the West, still in the West. The Predators, Michael Granlund and Wayne Simmonds, huge. It's just going to make the power play amazing. And the power play hasn't been really good in Nashville. And this kind of gives the Preds a jolt for the Cup final. A team, one thing that always happens, and this is the same with the Winnipeg Jets, if you expect to make it to the playoffs and expect to make it to the first or second round, you kind of get complacent, and that's not good for a hockey team, because a complacent hockey team just doesn't try as hard. And with guys like these coming in, with Nashville bringing in Wayne Simmonds, Michael Granlund, Winnipeg bringing in Kevin Hayes, Nathan Beaulieu, Par Lindholm, and the other names I'm forgetting, it just brings a jolt and says, oh crap, we're going to make it to the playoffs. We better start playing. The Rangers got to sell. Really huge for them. The only thing I'd love to see the Rangers do is sell Henrik Lundqvist somewhere. Get him a Stanley Cup. Because I think he deserves a Stanley Cup, of course, which is easy for me to say. But if he doesn't get one, he could easily go down as one of the best players to never win a Stanley Cup, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of players that haven't, but still, it's just, you hate to see it. The San Jose Sharks, of course, added Gustav Nyquist. He joins all the UFAs, that team. Joe Pavelski, Erik Karlsson, Joe Thornton, and Jonas Donskey on that team. And, yeah, I think it was a really great trade deadline. I didn't watch it. Like past years, I've watched the TSN broadcast. I would stay home from school, fake sick, sorry mom, and just watch it because it was amazing. You're like, ooh, look at all this cool stuff. TSN always puts on quite the show. Didn't this year because I'm paying for school, so you go to it now, and don't really have cable. But all the trades were amazing to get on my phone, to look at it. You're like, wow, look at this. After the deadline, at 3 o'clock hits, there's still trades coming in. It's like, this is amazing. This is why people fall in love with sports. This is why I fell in love with sports, just the action. And then, of course, you think of the lives behind it. Like that whole message that I tried to say over and over again 20 minutes ago. But just a great trade deadline. Of course, what does this mean for the teams? A lot of teams stayed complacent, which kind of surprised me. The Leafs stayed kind of complacent. Tampa Bay, the Islanders, Montreal, which I found very interesting. Edmonton didn't do anything. I think they kind of eventually realized they currently sit with 59 points. They are 7 points out of a playoff spot. Maybe they realize that this isn't going to happen, and they're like, what's the point of trading away, trying to get better? One thing I did mention here, we're going to go to a quick break here, and then we're going to talk about some baseball. The Tampa Bay Lightning are the first team to 100 points this season. They've only done it in 63 games. Just an absolute amazing team. Boston and Toronto are having great seasons. Both played 62 games. Toronto has 2 more wins than Boston, but Boston has more OT losses. Boston has 1 more point with 81. Leafs have 80. And Tampa has 20 more points than Toronto and 19 more than Boston, which is absurd. But just like the trade deadline, you got to think the team that wins isn't the team that had the best trade at the deadline. There's just something to remember. It's the team that plays the best. And I know that's kind of like hypocritical, like of someone to say, but it's kind of lost in the fact that, like, oh, if you make a big deal at the deadline, you are going to win the Stanley Cup, right? That's how that works. And I'll agree, you want to see every team make a big trade. You expect your team to make a huge trade because you think it'll make you better. I'm just trying to find. There was an amazing tweet. I think it was Mike Modano who tweeted it out, and I can't seem to find it anymore. So maybe it wasn't that good. But yeah, and you got to remember, a lot of stuff can happen between now and then. People can get injured. Just ask the Stars, who lost Matt Zuccarello for another 4 weeks. Of course, they sit in this first wild card spot, but they could have really used Zuccarello. That's kind of why they traded for him. If the playoffs started today, we'll just do this in the end of the break here. I'm just rambling now. It would be Tampa, Carolina in the first round. Tampa, Carolina, Islanders, Montreal, Boston, Toronto, Washington, Columbus. Amazing. That would be some really good series. The Washington Columbus one happened last year. But like Tampa, Carolina, Montreal, and the Islanders, kind of weird series. And then in the West, it would be Calgary, Minnesota, Nashville, Dallas, and then Winnipeg, St. Louis, and San Jose, Vegas. That San Jose, Vegas series would be amazing. Those are two really good teams playing against each other. But there's at least 20 games left in the NHL season. 20 games. We got a lot to go. And we got a good way to get there. So enjoy. Trade deadline's over. All the analysts are like, whew, we can kind of coast into the Stanley Cup Finals now. But I'm going to take a quick break here. I hope you enjoyed your deadline. I hope you enjoyed whatever that was I've just done for the last 40 minutes, the rant I gave. My jaw hurts. I hope your ears don't hurt. We'll be right back here, ladies and gentlemen. But first, we're back here, ladies and gentlemen, for your Sports Break broadcast on 92.7 C Triple FM here in Peterborough, Canada, through the facilities here at Trent Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. The weather outside today is still around not negative. Nope, it's negative 9 degrees. Little bit of chance of flurries, nothing crazy. We're cutting it short there, running low on time. If anyone here knows the name of, oh crap, no, I don't know the name. I just looked this up. Pete Weber, and you're a fan of bowling. You know where I'm going with this. 7 years ago today, it was the U.S. Bowling Championship 2012. That would be 7 years ago today. A legendary, absolute legendary catchphrase was brought into this world. We're just gonna a little clip here, just to remind the world of the legendary Pete Weber. He's throwing the ball.
To claim it, a strike to claim it, and he got it!
That's number 5. Are you kidding me? That's right. Who do you think you are? I am.
The amazing catchphrase. Who do you think you are? I am. Threw a perfect strike to win the bowling championship. Just, it's just a really good catchphrase. I always loved hearing it on TSN and stuff like that. But in the baseball world, as crazy as the trade deadline was yesterday in the NHL, baseball world crazy. Yesterday, the Blue Jays have started playing spring training. Haven't won yet in spring training. Doesn't matter. Don't need to win there. Played the Yankees. Troy Tulowitzki was playing for the Yankees. Of course, Blue Jays are paying Tulowitzki to play for the Yankees. He had a home run off Marcus Stroman and celebrated in spring training and screamed in the game, shouted. And then after the game, he's like, yeah, the team basically told me I couldn't play. They didn't want me to play. Sorry about that. I just had a quick sneeze. I didn't want to put it on air. Oh, man. Anyways, Tulo was saying, yeah, the team told me I couldn't play, and this was kind of a nice little shot back. The report was that, the team said, no, Troy, we don't want you to play because we've got young guys we want to play, which is completely different than saying they didn't want him. They don't think he could play. I just thought it was kind of a hot dog move, why are you celebrating? It's spring training. Hit the home run the bases. It's not, you're not supposed to celebrate. What's the point of celebrating? It's spring training. Ooh, good for you. That's just me. Maybe I'm just being touchy about it because he doesn't play for the Jays anymore. But in real baseball news, San Francisco Giants manager Bruce Bochy announced on a week ago Monday, that he will retire at the end of the 2019 season. He is 63 years old, of course. He helped the Giants win the World Series 2010, 2012, 2014. He was named National League Manager of the Year in 96 while managing the Team San Diego Padres. He's got a strong candidate for the Hall of Fame, I'll be honest. He's won 6 division titles in his career. He was, of course, a big league catcher. He is 11th all-time in managerial wins with 1,926, and 975 of those have come with the Giants. He's the only manager in Major League history to win at least 900 games with 2 different teams, and is tied for 4th all-time in postseason victories. Changing of the tide in San Francisco in the next year or so. Yeah, you really hate to see it, but you got to move on from the sport eventually. I've got a bunch of signings here. I don't know. There's no, Jason Harrison signed with the Detroit Tigers. Marwin Gonzalez signed with the Minnesota Twins. Aaron Hicks signed an extension with the Yankees for 7 years, worth $70 million, which is really interesting because he's 30 years old. 29, sorry, turning 30. Yankees really wanting their center fielder. We'll see how that works out in a couple of years. The big fish finally signed, though. We're going to get to this. Manny Machado signed with the San Diego Padres, a 10-year deal worth $300 million. He gets a 6-team no-trade list. He gets paid $30 million each year with a $20 million signing bonus and a $10 million salary in his first year. This is, of course, coming off of 1 year after the Padres gave Eric Hosmer an 8-year, $144 million contract, and Will Myers an $83 million extension. They have one of the baseball's best farm systems, of course, above the Blue Jays. Just for the Machado, wow, to the Padres. After 3 months of speculation, of course, the Yankees were in on him, the Phillies were in on him, and the Chicago White Sox traded for a bunch of players, signed a bunch of players that were like friends of Machado and family of Machado, and he didn't even sign there. Kind of a slap in the face. But it's nice to get it done. It's nice to see that MLB is not completely broken, and that they finally got someone assigned to a big deal. Huge deal, 10-year, $300 million. Bryce Harper is still a free agent, though, and that has to sign. I can see him going over $300 million, $350 maybe. I don't know. Whatever he gets. We're still waiting on that. The Phillies, it sounds like, is the team that it's going to go. But he started talking to the Dodgers again, and that would be amazing for the Dodgers and for baseball, in my opinion. I mean, the Dodgers are good. They've been back-to-back World Series. But I think it'd be amazing for a team that really hasn't had a number one offensive player like that to bring it in. They've always had a number one guy in Clayton Kershaw, who we're going to talk about in a second. But it would be huge for the Dodgers to get Harper. Probably going to end up going to the Phillies. If he went to the Dodgers, it would be a short-term deal. And I don't know if he'd want that. He hasn't performed as well as he did when he won the MVP. He had a couple injuries the past couple seasons. But still, before we get to Harper, we're missing Machado. Great deal. The Padres kind of out of nowhere kind of surprised me. Better hope that they can perform this year. I would hate to see them miss the playoffs. They're kind of in a division where it's the Dodgers, the Rockies, because the Giants I don't think will contend this year. It's pretty much the Dodgers and the Rockies, and now it's up to the Padres to contend and either take a wild card spot or take a run for the division. They just need starting pitching, and there's still Dallas Keuchel out there that they could sign. But that's the one thing the Padres need after this. Huge signing, sorry. He's going to play shortstop, Machado, until Fernando Tatis Jr., the second best prospect in baseball, comes up, and then they'll just move Machado to third, where he's going to be he's even better at third. He's got a great glove at short, but a great glove at third. Speaking of, we talked about Clayton Kershaw earlier. He hasn't looked good this season, the start of the season. I know it's only the beginning of spring training. He's been throwing for a bit, but he's been shut down completely. He didn't feel great playing catch Monday. Of course, last year he wasn't throwing as hard as he has before. He barely touched 92, 93. He was injured a lot last season, and right now he says he just doesn't feel right. If they're without him for a long time, they still have a good rotation. Walker Buehler, Hyung Ryu, Rich Hill, Kenta Maeda. They've still got a lot of good guys, but it's Clayton Kershaw. He's got a lot of innings on his arm. That's the only thing I'm scared of, is that his arm's just done. And you see that a lot with guys like Felix Hernandez, CC Sabathia. When they have a lot of innings on their arms at a very young age, it wears on them very quick. Very, very quick. And you just hope... I hope there's more for Clayton Kershaw. I'd love to see him win a World Series someday. I'd love to see the Dodgers win a World Series someday. But do it gracefully, or if he's going to retire. Like it was with Roy Halladay. One day he went to spring training and was like, my arm doesn't feel right. I'm not as good now as I ever was. And yeah, Father Time is undefeated. That's all I'm going to say. Maybe Father Time's caught up to Clayton Kershaw. You'd hate to see it, because we all love Clayton Kershaw. If you don't love Clayton Kershaw, you don't love baseball. That's all I'm going to say on that. But that is all the time we have today for your Sports Break, broadcasted on 92.7 C Triple FM through the facilities here at Trend Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. If you've missed previous shows, you can catch up online at Twitter at SportsBreakTR. We will be back next Tuesday at 9 a.m., of course, for another show where we'll talk about the NHL season, post-deadline, see what's going on there, the MLB off-season. Spring training is coming up. There are only 29 days until opening day of the MLB season. Yes. And as always, remember to check both your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. You gotta have smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. It's not just for insurance. It's not because it's the law. It's because it'll save your freaking life. Okay? So put in your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. Sorry for the music in there. Put in your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. Please save your life and have a good day, ladies and gentlemen.